Hi everyone. Hi. So welcome to the fourth day of IWD, the International Week of the Deaf 2020. My name is Kopi Nadan and this is my sign-in. For those who join us for the first time today, let me introduce the event to you. The IWD is celebrated annually by the deaf community worldwide throughout various activities. And we will display our pride in our deaf identity, community, and culture, and unique language. For IWD in Singapore, the theme is Sign Language are for everyone. This is the theme for International Day of Sign Language that will be observed on 23rd September. This year, IWD event in Singapore is different from the past years. Why? Because it is the first time we are doing digital. We hope this digital platform using Zoom plus Facebook Live allowed us to reach out to more people that are keen to share about the deaf community. During our digital IWD 2020 event, you can expect new content videos every morning at 10 a.m. and our Facebook live stream at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we have 4 things. The first is in conversion with ISS. Second, meet our community note taker. Third is deaf yet grateful. The fourth is stories sign in the Cinderella. Our Facebook live stream tonight, we will have 2 Deaf at Work interviews. The Deaf at Work series will actually show the public about the various types of work that the members of the deaf community have. So our guest today is Ken Tan. He is the chef who recently started his own business this year. Before we meet our guests, we like to find out more about the sharing for today. And we have 2 presenters today. So who are them? Joan and Hidayah. Joan will be sharing about the use of sign language in communication, and Hidayah will be sharing about how emotions are expressed in communication in Sjsl. During our speaker sharing, we will have Q&A sessions. And if you have any questions, you can type your comments. And we will try to answer as many questions as we can according to the time allocated for the Q&A. So are you ready? Let's meet Joan. So where is Joan? Let me see. Where are you?
Hello.
Hi, Joan. So how are you? Do you want to introduce yourself and your name, like What are you working now?
Okay, my name is Joan. Sign name Joan. So now I'm with association with the itinerant support service.
Okay. So we are very interested to see your presentation. If you have any questions, do remember to send us a comment on Facebook. So Joan, are you ready? Okay.
Hi everyone. Today I'll be presenting my final year project paper, which I actually did a few years back as part of my undergrad studies in NTU. It's titled Moving Along the Signing Continuum, Exploration of the Factors Influencing Code Choice. Hidayah, can I have the slides? Thank you. Okay, yeah, so so this will be the flow of my presentation today. I'll first introduce the topic and the key concept before sharing on the research method that I used as well as the data I got. We'll then discuss the data further and what it means for our deaf community and what else we can do in future in the field of deaf research in Singapore. Yeah. Okay, so first up, we'll introduce a concept of context signing and how this is prevalent in Singapore. Okay, so context signing is actually a term that is coined by Lucas and Valley, who actually did their sign language research on the American deaf community. And they actually use this term to actually label like the intermediate variety of signing that arises from the contact between sign English and ASL. So they also realized that actually the choice of when a person actually use like which variety of signing, the signing person, like whether they choose to use the ASL or they choose to use sign English, is not always very clear cut. And it actually involves a lot of like other social linguistic considerations. And this includes things like whether the people that I'm speaking to are deaf or hearing, and things like that. Okay, so bringing this back to our local context, we'll first look at our deaf education in Singapore. So in Singapore, from the past, we have both oral and signing approaches to education. So in the early days in the 1950s, we had the Red Cross Oral School. We also have the Singapore Chinese Deaf School. And then we move on to like now Canossian School and even mainstreaming options for those who choose to take on the oral method, be natural auditory approach or be it like mainstreaming to also go through education with the rest of the hearing population. So for signing wise, we used to have the Singapore School for the Deaf, which already closed. And then now currently what we have is the Lighthouse School, which also uses, which is also moving towards a bi approach, bilingual bicultural approach. And as well as SGS, so they use we used to have computer communication where SEE is used, and then now we have like SGSL in schools as well. And also signing is also used in the designated schools for the deaf, like our BT school and our Mayflower schools. Okay. Yeah, so when we look at signing continuum in Singapore, the two main languages that we see more often in the Singapore deaf community, the two main signing system rather that we see more often in the Singapore deaf community will be SEE2, and on the other end, the natural sign language will be Singapore Sign Language. Yeah, and because what I'm exploring is also the intermediate variety. So in between, anything that is not pure SEE2 or not pure SGSL will be what I consider as context signing. I think like a disclaimer first, because like SGSL is not a very, very well researched language itself. There are certain structures and linguistic structures that we have not agreed on. So for the purpose of this paper, the considerations that I took to see whether the choice of variety is actually more SGSL-like will be things like their use of classifiers, the grammatic structure, whether the topic comes first, whether the time comes first. And so these are some of the things that will make it represent SGSL a bit more. And SEE2 will be signing structures that actually reflect the grammar of English. Okay, and having this knowledge, the research question that we try that I try to find out from this research is, firstly, what are the factors that actually influence whether a signer choose a particular language to use? So what are the things that actually influence their linguistic choice? And how would this linguistic choice, so which meaning the language they choose to use, be it SGSL, SEE, or even context signing, how would this then affect the achievement or sense making? So how does this help communication to happen between all parties, whether they know each other or not? Okay, yeah, so moving on to the method. So for this paper, the method used is inspired by ethno methodology, which actually investigates social activities through observations. When we look at ethno methods, we usually use conversations. So in this particular, for the data in this paper, it was collected through naturalistic, unscripted interactions that mostly happen over like either lunch or dinner. So it's not planned. They can talk about anything they want, about any topic they want. And and they were video recorded the whole time. Okay, so I collected 3 different videos. In the first video, there were 3 deaf participants and 2 hearing participants. And this group was actually the most linguistically diverse, self-declared linguistically diverse group, in the sense that the participants knew SEE2, SGSL, ASL, and also BSL, so American Sign Language and British Sign Language. However, one point to note is that the only common language among all 5 of them is actually SEE2. And so that's the only language in common they have. So we expect to see some SEE2 in the conversation. Okay, so for the second group, similarly, we have a mix of deaf and hearing. So I had 3 deaf and 1 hearing participant. The languages they report to know is SEE, SGSL, as well as ASL. Again, the only common language is SEE. Yeah. And one thing to also note is that a lot of the participants from this group, the B group, actually most of them were either oral educated or mainstream. So they did not acquire sign language from young, and they only pick it out later on. For the third group, it's a deaf-only group. Yeah, and for this group, the participants self-reported to know SEE, SGSL, ASL, and as well as PG Sign English. Again, even though this is a deaf-only group, the only self-reported common language is also SEE. Yeah, so this was a bit surprising because even though it's a deaf-only group, not all of them were using SGSL, or so they claim to not be using SGSL. Okay, now let's look at some of the data that I had. So recapping the idea of a signing continuum. So the two languages that I was more like on my continuum will be SCE2 as well as Sjsl. And anything in between will be a context signing. Okay, so this is an example of how the differentiation can look like. Yeah, so for SCE, as I mentioned, it will follow the grammar of English. So you see the signing is word by word. So we shall go for lunch now. It's word by word. And for the next one will be Sjsl. Yeah, so the time marker comes in front. So you will go noun, and then we do we, so indexation, go for lunch. Yeah, and then third type will be the context signing. So context signing will have elements of both SCE as well as Sjsl. So you'll see the grammar of this sentence will reflect the Sjsl example a bit more in terms of word order. But if you look at the lexicon, the choice of vocabulary, we is signed not with indexation, but rather with the SCE sign for we, like we. Okay, so looking at the data, some of the situations where there was a change in language that occurred will be due to firstly self-repair. So if you look at this, if you look at line 5, where the arrow is, so Raina was actually signing is same like what. Then she self-corrected and she said is same what is like what. So actually in that sense, what she wanted to convey was the concept of same as is similar. So two things were like, what does it mean? Like what is it similar to? But when she, because she's talking to Tom, who was one of my hearing participants and claimed to only know SCE, Raina actually self-corrected herself. She changed her same to like, because in English structure, it will be like, what is it like? So it's like and not like, yeah. Yes, yeah. So and other situations where language change occurred was also other initiated repair. So if we look at 7, 8, 9, all the talks were happening using mostly Sjsl like grammar. But again, because the talk was directed to a hearing participant, another okay, sorry, 7, 8, 9 was by a deaf participant who is not Raina. So I name her Jen. Yeah, but over at line 10, another deaf participant actually stepped in and corrected Jen's signing, in a sense that she changed Jen's signing. She kind of helped to code switch it to SCE so that the hearing participant could understand it better. Okay, and also what we also noticed is that there was some linguistic transfer. So even though my hearing participant claimed not to know Sjsl, so in SCE there should not be any classifiers being used. Since it follows the grammar of English, it should be like with spoken classifiers and not sign classifiers. But if you look at line 19, Raina used a classifier where she said like boy and girl and between. So if you see my first photo on top, this was what she was doing. And then at line 22, even though Tom was a hearing participant, he could adopt the same sign. And he was also, when he explains like what this means, he actually also could use like boy, girl, and between, even though he claims not to know Sjsl. Okay, we also noticed that there was some accommodation that happened. Accommodation meaning the speaker, when they respond, they will try to match the language of the previous speaker. So when Lynn signed, she signed like yesterday night. We were talking about Ra. So Sandra, she's also my hearing participant, who again says that she doesn't use Sjsl with the with her hearing deaf friends. But when she responded, she actually signed pay back Mitch finish, which actually has the word order again of that is more Sjsl like rather than English like. Yeah. So when we look at some of these findings, again, bringing back to our research question, so what are the factors that actually influence the signer's choice of language? And how would this choice of language then affect sense making? So there's 4 different things that takes place. So to sum up the different factors that actually seem to influence the choice of language in my data. So firstly, it's a topic of conversation. Yeah, so a topic of conversation can also cause one to choose whether to use Sjsl or SEE, depending on what the context is about. The other one is educational background, because I think in Singapore it's a bit more clear cut in the sense like if you're oral, if you grew up oral, you may not know sign language until a later stage. And oftentimes the sign language they learn will be more of just lexicons rather than a full-fledged natural language. As compared to if you grew up signing, so they have more knowledge of natural sign languages, and then maybe they use Sjsl a bit more. The hearing status of the recipients that they're talking to also matters, whether the person is deaf or hearing. So if like a deaf person is talking to a hearing person, there seems to be some tendency to move along the continuum towards a more SEE-like communication. So even though like they were previously using Sjsl with their deaf friends, once they actually start speaking to a hearing person, they will not use that full Sjsl, but they will actually modify their structures a little bit somewhere along the continuum. It may not be a pure SEE, but it will not be like how they speak to their deaf friends as well. Yeah, and I guess like educational background and hearing status also affect their language proficiency, like whether the participant is well equipped with SEE or Sjsl or even other sign languages like we mentioned ASL, PSE. So if they don't have the proficiency to actually communicate in that language, then their variety will be definitely more similar to something they're comfortable with. Like one of my deaf participants who actually is most comfortable with natural sign languages, then her signing will become more like that. Like in our example of Jen earlier on, she will still use more natural sign language, and then the friend will come in to do that code switching for her. Yeah, and also when we look at the hearing status and language proficiency, linguistically, we also have this term called recipient design, where where the talk is actually have to be directed to the recipient. To the recipient in the sense that it should be something that the recipient understands. And also that's why they are choosing this language to talk to this particular person. Yes, and ultimately it's all about intersubjectivity, which actually just means that everyone in the conversation ought to be able to understand one another. So the choice of language will actually help this conversation to happen and help each party in the conversation to understand one another. Yeah, so how does this then affect sense making? So it actually from my data, it seems that communication can happen regardless of proficiency, regardless of like what language the person claims to know. Yeah, so it happens in different ways, like we mentioned, like be it self-repair, other initiated repair, or code switching, or even language accommodation, but somehow they still make it happen. And I think like if you look at it a bit more, the choice of this language sometimes also reflect the understanding of the identity of the recipient. So as I mentioned, if they are speaking to a hearing person, it seems that the natural tendency is to move away from natural sign language and towards sign English. Yeah, and yeah, that kind of thing. So like how you view like the person you're speaking to and their proficiency and identity. Okay. Yeah, and comparing this to like Sjsl's cultural orientation model. So actually, what this researcher does is to study Englishes in Singapore. So she looks at like standard variety and Singlish. So standard variety to her is used to help us connect to the international marketplace, while Singlish is used for our inner circle, our culture and identity marker. So to identify us as Singaporeans. Similarly, spoken English in the spoken, sign, or written form, so something more like SCE, seems to be a language that can help the deaf community to also connect to the hearing community, and a language they're comfortable using with the hearing people. While on the other hand, Singapore Sign Language seems to be the language they use internally with one another, and probably as we celebrate International Week of the Deaf, yeah, we know that sign language is also one of their identity markers and a very important part of being deaf. Yeah, so what does this mean for our Singapore deaf community? I think my data does support the use of bilingual bicultural education approach, because it shows that there can be positive language transfer happening, and this can also be seen when they do language learning. Yeah, so picking up both English and Singapore Sign Language actually gives the deaf individual the opportunity and to actually to choose their language depending on the situation that they need to use the language for, and to be able to communicate to with even more people. So having that option. Yeah, and in future, I guess like to replicate this studies like this, it could be to focus on a specific type of signers, because my participants come from different backgrounds. I have oral deaf, and I also have the signing deaf, and they are of different proficiency levels as well. So if we could look at signers who have more similar background or more similar proficiency, then maybe the kind of data we get will be a little bit different as well. But however, I think like the crux of it is to still first understand Sjsl, to be able to understand the grammar of Sjsl, the uniqueness of Sjsl, in order for us to be able to very clearly say that, oh yeah, this you are using Sjsl and you are using SCE, rather than like in my case, I had to make certain assumptions, like if you drop a classifier, then maybe you're not using Sjsl, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's all from me, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Joan, for that very insightful sharing. Wow, looking at the differences between SGSL and SCE, really just thank you so much for explaining everything. It really helped me understand the differences between them. So right now, well, let's meet Hidayat. So he's gonna be our next speaker. So where's Hidayat? Come on. There you go. Where are you, Hidayat?
I see myself on screen, but are you not able to see me?
I can see you.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you, Gopi, but
Okay, my name is Hidayah, and this is my sign in. I work with the Singapore Association for the Deaf, and I'm doing research and linguistics. Okay, thank you. So my topic is about encoding the emotion in Sjsl. And how do we express emotion in Sjsl? Because last time, the supervisor, the jump mate, so when there's question in anything about linguistics, I will approach jump mate. For now, we will be talking about those things that is labeled in the table of contents. And for the literature review, what does it actually mean? So we are actually looking at the old research and see what is it about. For example, what is not yet done, and we will do more research on that. Talking about management, I try to do the research. After finish,
Sjsl, are you able to see me clearly?
some parts is a bit lagging, but yeah.
Okay, I actually wanted to sign for this. Maybe I can speak and Sjsl can help me to sign.
Okay, sure.
That'll be clearer.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so as I was saying, for the table of content, I'll be going through the literature review. And after that, so the lit review is for me to find out what research has been done and what is missing. So I would look into what is missing. Then we'll move on to the methodology. And after that, I will talk about my results and the conclusion. Okay, so now we'll go through the lit review. So how is expression of emotions learned? So actually, when we learn languages, we pick up the Sorry, give me a moment. We pick up the conventions of the language, and we also pick up expression of emotions. That actually happens through observation of our surroundings. So how people behave and express themselves, that's what we pick up as well. Yeah. So if you take a look at this statement by Sjsl and Stroud, emotions serve as adaptations for organizing and directing one's behavior in response to environmental stimuli. So it means when you actually have a stimulus, which is something that maybe trigger a reaction from you, you actually may not be directly reacting. So your body, you actually go through a process whereby you think of how you should react. So let's see how that happens. So here is the process of emotional expression. So we have 3 stages actually. We have the stimuli, appraisal, and the expression. So I'll go through them one by one. So why do we need to know this? Because the research is about emotional expression, right? I need to figure out how to properly tease out an emotional response from my participant, and I will explain that later on as in how I did that. So first we have the stimuli. So it is an event, person, object, or idea that excites the individual. So these excites mean that it triggers a response. So it could be positive or negative, and the degrees may vary as well. And for everyone, a stimulus, if we're looking at one stimulus, it may be different for each individual. So this actually depends on the individual's life experience. So I'll give an example. If a Muslim were to see like an empty table, but it has bottles of alcohol, the Muslim person may avoid the table, even though it's free, because of the alcohol that's there, because they have grown up knowing that they're not able to consume or they're not able to consume the alcohol, right? So this is one of the examples that I could give for stimuli. It'll be the same thing as pork as well, yeah, for the Muslim community. So next we'll talk about the appraisal. Okay, so once you've seen the stimuli, now we'll take a look at what happens inside. So first we have the physiological reaction, right? So we have increased heartbeat, perspiration, goosebumps. That's some of the examples. Maybe even nausea, yeah. And for cultural, so for this cultural part, is basically what you grew up with. So first you have to take cues from the situation. Who are the people, and also who are the people around you. So you think of what should be the response. So you wouldn't want to appear rude or dramatic or overreactive. So this is the stage where you consider what steps to take. So lastly, that's where expression comes in. So expression is actually a personal choice. So these are the types of responses that you can have, which is exclamation, verbalization, physical response, facial expressions, and also non-expression. So this is purely up to the individual. And so if you think back to the appraisal, we have to see who's around them as well. So maybe the person is less comfortable with the person they're with. So their response may not be as large as if they were with someone they were more comfortable with. So these are the kind of things that this is the kind of things like the process for the emotional expression. Okay, so when we have emotional expression, we need to also look at the meanings behind them. Okay, so in linguistics research, there's actually 3 types of meanings of emotional expression. So these are descriptive, connotative, and expressive. So for my research, I'm actually looking at the expressive meaning. So basically, when you're signing, because I'm talking about SJSL, what feature are you showing to express your emotions? Yeah. So the two that I'm not looking at are descriptive and connotative. So in descriptive is basically the vocabulary that you have for emotional states. So words like angry, sad, these are descriptive meanings. Okay, so for connotative, it's more about how it affects you. So it was back at the appraisal stage, something like how your body reacts to it, that kind of thing, and how intense it is. How intense is the stimulus? But for expressive, the one that I'm looking at, so how exactly you express it when you're using the language. Okay. So so if you take a look here, in sign language for other countries, I mean, for the research that's been done in other countries, the emotional states can be shown in tempo, rhythm, and size of signs. So yeah, correct. So when we are looking at sign language, let me just give some background information. So in sign language, the parameters of the language, which means what does each sign, how is each sign expressed? So we have 5 parameters. We have hand shape, our orientation of the palm. We have movement, and also location. So for the 5th one, it's actually non-manual markers. What this means is that this includes our eyes, where we are looking at, our eyebrows, the shape of our mouth, nodding, our shoulders as well, even moving back or leaning forward. Those are actually non-manual markers. So for sign language, some of these non-manual markers are actually part of the linguistic information. So it contributes to the meaning of the word. But these non-manual markers also contribute to emotional expression. So that is why in the research from the other countries, the sign languages of other countries, they have shown that tempo, rhythm, and the size of signs allows the users of the language to express their emotions. So there is also this comparison between sign language and spoken languages. So in spoken languages, how you would express emotions. These are some of the qualities that could be used. So there will be the change in pitch, high pitch, low pitch, your tempo, your loudness, and also the length of your vowel production. Yeah. So actually, these traits are actually comparable for sign language and spoken languages. So Bransari says that the body, head, and parts of the face are actually just as important in emotional expression. So why do I have to say this is because when I was doing my research a few years back, this was done in 2017. So there were only a few research on expression of emotions in sign language, but the research was done in a studio environment, and also they were only looking at the hands. So that's the movement, the speed, the size of the signing. But what they missed out was actually the non-manual markers. Yeah, so that is what Brenta is saying here, that the body, head, and parts of the face are just as important. So that's actually what I will look at in my research. Okay, so I had two research questions, and they are, what are the distinctive features of the emotion categories in Singapore Sign Language? So emotion categories, they are like the general emotion, and then you have your other more intense emotions within that group. So for example, happy, in that group you have like elated, excited, that kind of thing. So I will also be showing you some of that because I actually use this in my research as well to answer this question. And for our second question, do the users of Singapore Sign Language agree on the interpretation of emotional expression? So what this means is we'll take a look at how the users of Singapore Sign Language agree or disagree in reading another person's emotional expression. So yeah, that's what I'll be talking about. Next, I'll move on to my methodology. So in the expression in discourse. So first, remember that apparently some of the words are missing in this slide, so I'll just explain it. Okay, so the first part in my research, I will need to get I'll need to get a participant who will express emotions, right? So, and then I will film him. So what I did was to pick two videos, and I will show it to him first, and then he will be speaking with an interviewer, another user of Singapore Sign Language. So the number 1 and 2 they were actually the titles of the videos, but I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just explain to you a little. So in the first video, it was more of a romantic story. So if you can see the picture there, that's actually near the end of the video. So how it started out is that the deaf lady is sitting and reading a book, and this hearing person starts speaking to her. She pretends she can't hear because she has her earpiece on, and so they just communicated through exchanging of notes. So that continued for a few days, and then the lady, she decided that to tell him that she's deaf. So how she did that was, do you want to listen to my music? And when he put it on, that's when he says, that's weird, I didn't hear any. And then she signs, I'm deaf. And the boy accepts it and wrote a note, you're still beautiful. So that is one. So for that one, I was actually hoping for emotional expression of maybe hope, but it also depends on his experience with it. So if he has dated a hearing person and it didn't end up well, maybe it'll be a negative emotion. Yeah, so I was trying, it could go either way. And for the second video, it was actually a vlog, video log of a hard of hearing individual. So her hearing teacher actually ridiculed her in front of her class so she had an assignment where they had to watch a video and answer questions based on that. When she couldn't answer, he read out her answers and was laughing at her. So of course, her classmates joined in as well. So the point of that video is that she was ridiculed when she couldn't answer, but the fault is that there is no accessibility. So I think this issue is quite rampant in the deaf community. So I was hoping to get some response from that, some emotional response. Okay, so then it comes to the next stage where the interview happens. So I will film him. Yeah, so the interviewer will not be on screen. It was just him alone. So I will actually use this filming to extract the moments of emotional expression. So after I actually looked through the entire recording, I actually picked out some of these emotions. So if you take a look, there are two rows. The top is actually the emotion category, while the bottom one is the emotions within that category. So how I got this, I didn't do it alone because I wasn't fluent in. I was actually just starting out with Singapore Sign Language in that year. So I got a lot of help from Miss Lo Jan Mei. She helped me out when it comes to understanding the videos. Yeah, so I identified some of the emotions and then I would go through them with her and we will see if it was accurate or whether changes were needed. So it was more of like a collaboration sort of, as I needed her knowledge in Singapore Sign Language while I could do the research side for linguistics. So here we see there's 10 emotions that I picked out. I will share some of them with you, the more interesting ones. Yeah. Okay, so how did I get the emotions and categories right? So I didn't use this exact wheel, but through this wheel you can see that emotions can be categorized in this way. So if you look at the middle of the wheel, it is the stronger emotions, while on the outside is the not so intense emotions. So if you take a look at this wheel as well, so each color, they're not apart, but they can, some qualities in the expression can actually overlap to the adjacent colors. So it's not so clear cut, though we can find out what qualities show which category if we have enough data on that. So after I got all of that, the 10 emotions, so I cut the videos, right? So I had 10 videos that I showed to my participants. I had 7 participants and they had to answer these 3 questions. So the first question, did he say content of his signing? So this means that this is required because I need to make sure that they actually understand him, which could show their fluency in the language. So whenever they are not able to understand him, I would exclude their answer from that emotional expression analysis. Yeah. For the question 2, how was he feeling when he was signing that? So this is the part where I get the emotion that we're looking for. And so in the question 2, I actually gave 4 options and 1 which says other. So the 4 emotions, 2 of them will be in the same category, while the other 2 will be in the opposing category. And for the last question, I just wanted to know if they could agree on the intensity based on what they're, intensity of the emotion based on what they're seeing. Okay, so in the results, this is what I did with each emotional expression. So if you take a look at the last sentence, that's the English. So if there is no accessibility, cannot do anything. Yeah, and if you take a look at the top part, there are these words on the lines. So the lines show how long in that, when he was signing the sentence, how long did he have his eyebrows raised? How long did he shake his head rapidly? That kind of information. That is what the line is for. So I had this for all 10 videos to compare the non-manuals which were important in expressing that emotion. Okay, I will go through 3 emotions that I saw. So the first one was frustrated. So if you can see here, 57% actually could get that it was frustrated. But if you take a look at overall, frustrated and annoyed, which are under the anger category, you can see that so majority of them agree that he was angry. So one of the qualities, if we take a look, is the here. If we take a look, he was signing fast. That's the hands plus speed. So the previous research that was done on sign language and the speed of signing actually shows the same quality. The signs were done faster. And so because 57% agreed that it was frustration, so the other qualities could be what shows frustration. So we have eyebrows raised and also the rounded mouth. The lowered brow, sorry. Yeah, so this could be what shows the frustration. Yeah, so the next emotion we have is annoyed. This is also under the angry category. And if you take a look, most of them actually chose disappointed and upset, which was actually the opposite emotional category, which is sadness. So this was very interesting because it was the opposite of what we expected. Yeah, almost 60% of them chose that. If you take a look, this is the example given earlier about the lack of accessibility. If you take a look at the topmost characteristic, it will be the speed of the hands, which was increased. But it looks like there were other quality that was more salient in understanding the emotion. Yeah, so we believe it could actually be the head shaking and the eyebrows. Yeah. Furthermore, because if you take a look, the speed of the hands only increased at the end when he signed anything. So that could also affect how the emotional expression is understood. And this is my last one. So in assertive, this one is also quite interesting. So everyone actually chose the correct category. So 100% agreement, but only 20% agreed that it was assertive, while others, which is the identified emotion. So let's take a look. Yeah, you can see all of the qualities here. So all of the qualities were actually done throughout the entire sentence. So this could actually be important in showing the sureness, because the category for assertive is sure. So how sure you are, you can actually show through these qualities in your signing. Yeah, so those are the 3 emotions that I would explain for today. Oh, sorry. And the last part is to look at the performance of the participants. So did they agree, or were they not able to agree? So if you can take a look, we have quite a different range of participants. So the ages were around 23 to 46. If you take a look, participant 3 and participant 6, they were able to agree with everyone for 100% of the emotions. While for participant 5, this person had quite a low agreement percentage. Okay, so I will go through that later on in the conclusion. Yes. Okay, so now it's the conclusion. So these are my conclusions for my research. In conclusion 1, conventions to emotional expression exist in SJSL. So we can see that the participants, they do agree on quite a lot of the emotions. Of course, there's a percentage difference there, but because of the low number of participants that I had, we cannot say for sure. Yeah, so for future research, it would be best if we could get more participants, because we have to see, because since it's conventions, we have to make sure that ensure that majority of the community does use these conventions. Yeah, but from the research that I've done, it does show that there is that trend, so it is possible. Next, we have the relationship of the amount of exposure to identification of expression. So this means that how long you have been using the language, you are able to identify what emotion is being expressed better. So let's say I grew up signing, and then there's another participant who only started when she was 20, but we are the same age. So I'm able to identify the expression better compared to the other person who started later on. Yeah. So this could be linked back to the research that for language acquisition as well, that when you start learning a language earlier, you are also able to pick up the language faster. So that's for language learning. So when you use it longer, you're able to use the language better if you do practice it, because you get exposure to, I would expect it would be to the community. So that's the case for Singapore Sign Language. And for the third one, we have non-manuals may be more prominent than manuals. So this is in reference to the second emotion that I showed earlier, which was annoyed, where the participants agreed that it was actually expression of the sad category instead of the angry category. So we can see clearly that even though the person was signing fast, people understood it as sadness because of other qualities that were expressed as well. So it's not as clear. So we need to see, like, maybe for that example, you were saying that maybe it was the duration of the sped up signing compared to the other 2 qualities. And for the last one, we have complexity of emotional expression. So certain emotions, they are more complex than others in a sense that when they are in their categories, right, they actually overlap with the adjacent emotion. So that's why they would have some qualities from both emotional categories. Yeah. So, but the way that users of the language understand the emotions being expressed is not due to whether it's complex or not complex. So actually, for some of the videos that I showed my participants, they could agree on the emotions, whether it was complex or a non-complex emotional expression. Yeah. And I think that's the end. Okay, thank you. Joan, are you with us?
Hello.
Yeah. We're waiting for the interpreter. Okay.
Hi. So now is the question and answer segment. So are you ready, Joan and Hidayat, to answer the questions? Okay, so we got a question. So SGSL is claimed to be a mix of SEE, SSL, ASL, and local science. So in this sense, when you were doing your research, how do you separate which is SGSL and which is a contact language variant?
Yes, in SGSL research, the lexicons do come from SCE, ASL, and the different language bases. Yeah. Yeah, but in my current study, how I differentiate, I think it's more like looking at it as a continuum. So we have SEE on one side and SGSL on one side.
Sorry, Joan, can you speak slowly?
Okay, I'll repeat. Yeah, so on my signing continuum, we do have SEE on one side and SGSL on another side. Yes, so anything that falls in between will be what I consider as contact signing. So I guess the difference will be not so much of the vocabulary, but the difference will come more from the grammar. So the difference in structure, they help us to identify whether it's more SGSL-like or more SEE-like.
Okay. So I have a question for Hidayat. Before you were involved in the deaf community, have you ever considered working in the deaf community before, or were you like scared? How do you feel? Do you want to share some of your your thoughts?
Sure. I only started learning about the deaf community in university. That was when I attended Miss Lo Jan May's class, which was on deaf culture and sign language. I think that was in 2013. Yeah. So when I learned about the deaf community, I was interested to find out more because I actually didn't know much, and I think I had more of the charity perspective towards the community. So after learning more, the deaf community are able to be independent, just like us, the hearing community as well. So so I found out what type of needs they have and all that. So after that, I still did not expect to work with the deaf community, but I'm here. Yeah, so now I'm actually researching on Singapore Sign Language with the association. Yeah.
So there's another question from the audience for Hidayat. The difference in emotions, do you think this is due to the linguistic background of the different participants, if any? I mean the performance of participants.
Okay, give me one moment. Let me collect my thoughts. Okay, so for the linguistic background, because as mentioned earlier, there is the section in expression and also appraisal. We have the cultural part. So we see that what they have learned through their culture actually interacts with the expression of emotion. So yes, language also is related to culture. So yes, linguistic background would actually affect how emotion is expressed. Yeah. So so in cultures where they have to appear more polite, they would actually not express the more intense emotions, and they would probably use verbalization or non-expression. Yeah, and if you compare with a culture that is more open in expressing themselves, yeah. To add on, for people who are multilingual, their choice of language when they're expressing their emotions also also affects their expression of emotions. So for example, if I decide to use a language that I just learned to express my emotions, it actually could mean that I'm not emotionally linked with the language. So it means that the expression is not it's not as pure, I would say, as compared to when I express myself in my mother tongue. So for example, when I get angry, I will express it in Malay more. Yeah.
Okay, so Joan, I have a question for you as well. Is pigeon sign equivalent to contact sign?
Okay, yeah. Pigeon sign English is usually the term they used to use for this variety between ASL and sign English. So it's also a contact variety. But what happens is that as more research happens, pigeon sign is a term that were actually deemed to be not representative of this variety. So this is when there's a switch. The more appropriate terminology will be contact signing rather than pigeon sign English. Because pigeonization in the linguistic sense is a different kind of process, which actually does not fully explain this contact situation.
Okay, so I have another question for Hidayat from the audience. What about SGSL users who might have a secondary disability or mental illness which disallows them to express their emotions?
That is actually a very great question. So I don't have much knowledge on secondary disabilities and mental illness, but I would say that there should be there should be a difference in emotional expression. Yeah, but I'm not too sure because I haven't really looked at it before.
Okay. So Joan, I have another question for you. How does the research on SGSL impact the deaf community on the language and culture?
Yeah, I think research on SGSL is important because like language is a very important part of the deaf community and the deaf identity. So only when we really understand like what is SJSL, what makes it unique to Singapore, so then can we really understand like deaf community in Singapore, and what value does SJSL actually bring to this community. And this can also be this uniqueness can also be something that helps us to advocate for the community. That's what I think. Yeah. Actually, I think Hidayat will be a very good person to answer this question since he's doing the linguistic research for SJSL.
Yeah, so for the research on SJSL, actually it could really support the deaf community more, because let's say we have evidence to show the structure of the language, how it works. We can have more probably government support as well. So development of teaching resources and all that, it would really impact the number of users of the sign language. It would change perception of the hearing community towards sign language, because the use of sign language tends to be related to the community itself. And when it comes to disability, the common view, common perspective is that they require help. But if you take a look at Singapore Sign Language itself, actually it is a community on its own. It is a language on its own, used by the deaf community. So if we are able to show that Singapore Sign Language is a language and raise its status, it could actually assist the deaf community overall. Yeah, so yeah.
So I have another question for Hidayah. It says, sometimes hearing people who like to learn sign language but don't know how to express themselves well. So what would you do to advise them in order to include the expressions with sign language?
So earlier, when I started my presentation, I was saying that learning how to, the encoding of emotions in your expression is actually learned as you interact with the community, interact with the users of the language. So especially for Singapore Sign Language, because it is, the modality is different from spoken languages. So that is why the nuances in the language is maybe missed out by hearing people, because we would expect that, we always say that when you speak, you use your voice, but when you sign, you use your hands. But we forget that there's facial expressions, body movements as well, included in the language. So it may not be as easy for the hearing community to pick up these nuances in the expressions, but with more interaction, you should be able to pick it up. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question for you as well, Hidayah and John. I understand that both of you currently working in SEDEF. What is something you hope to achieve in SEDEF using your research, or rather, what is the next goal, target for the deaf community?
Oh, great question. Joan, would you like to start first?
I think maybe actually I'm not doing research in SADEF. Yeah, so in my work I work with students in the mainstream schools who have some degree of hearing loss. Yeah, but these are usually the group who are who uses the oral approach because they are mainstream, right? They have to rely on their hearing and their voice. Yeah. But I think like for the deaf community, what I want to see will be a lot more awareness, a lot more education about what the community really needs, not to be able to see the achievements of the community, the abilities of the community, because like a lot of my deaf friends are actually very amazing people, and I think the larger community need to see that. Yeah, and not just focus on their hearing loss, or to just see sign language as a has that special thing that makes them interested in this community, but actually there's so much more that the community can offer.
Yes. So for my side, I'm actually doing linguistics research. So currently I'm focusing on the language components itself. So I'm hoping that this research can help to support the community in the future, because right now it's still at the starting stage. So it's a bit slower, where we're trying to set standards to our processes in methodology to ensure that the deaf community is included in my research as well. Because I mean, this is the language of the community. So I would love it if the community also would participate in the research, work together, to develop our whatever resources and for the community together. So yeah, because the research is about them. So I would like them to come. Let's work together. For the next goal or target, I would like to see more empowerment for the deaf community as well. I believe that the general opinion is that they are unable to do things, but the only thing they can't do is hear. And actually, there are other abilities. There are people who are outstanding in the other abilities. They have skills that actually are quite amazing. So let's not take that away from them just because they are not able to hear. Yeah.
Okay, so there's another question. This is for Hidayah. I'm wondering if the difference in personal experience also affect how Sjsl user interpret the emotions in display.
Yes, it will affect. Yeah. So at the beginning, I was saying when there is a stimulus, right? Your expression, there is a middle appraisal section, right? Where you process what you're seeing. So again, because the person is also talking about something, right? So there's content there on top of the emotional expression. So if the SJSL user does feel like he should be reacting more to this, why isn't he? That kind of thinking, it could affect how it is being interpreted, in the sense that the intensity would be different, which could classify it as another emotion. So for this, I would say that mostly the intensity could be possible, a possible factor. Yes. Okay, sorry, I just saw the first part of the question, that if it's a person who uses SEE. Oh no, sorry. That's the next question. Okay.
Okay, so we have another question also for Hidayah. Do you think if a person use SEE and the way the language is used is more linear, do you think they are able to decide the difference in motions?
Okay, so if a person uses SEE, this is a little bit complicated, because the background of the person needs to be known. Because a deaf person can also use SEE and a hearing person can also use SEE. So this is a bit of a gray area based on the question, but let's say if it's a I'm not too sure actually. Yeah, because SEE follows the English structure, while in SGSL, actually the intensity of emotions can be shown just through expression itself. So let's say you're saying that you're feeling like very angry. It could be I can't think of a word, but yes, it's extreme anger. The expression could be different. They would be showing faster signing, more intense, like more forceful. Yeah. So when you're expressing it in SEE, you could be saying very angry or just the specific vocabulary, which is the descriptive word for the emotion. So it could affect that, yeah. Because of the choice of words, yeah.
So there's another question for you, Diet. Wow, you're popular today. So does that mean that those who sign in SE expresses their emotions differently than those who use SGSL or other signing methods, since SE follows the English language word for word?
Yeah, I think I explained this a little bit in the previous question. Yeah, because in the expression of emotions, because in English, you could have multiple words for this one, multiple words for the emotion based on the intensity, right? But maybe in sign language, they will have one sign for it, but how they show the different intensity is through how they express that sign, right? It could be their facial expressions, could be their signing speed, the largeness of the signing. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of difference in expression in SGSL and SEE, I would say.
Awesome. I think there's no more questions left. Phew. So now I'm really happy to see all of your passions to help the help the deaf community. So thank you so much for joining us for this chat question and answer session. Thank you so much, Hidayat and Joan. So now it's time for our #deaf@work. Now, we will first watch the interview with Ken Tan. His sign name is this. Let's find out more about him before we meet him for the Q&A. Okay, so let's play the video now, please. Thank you.
My name is Ken Tan. This is my sign name, Ken Tan. So I'm working as a chef. So were you born deaf? Yes, I was born deaf. And growing up, do you wanted to be a chef? No. So I was bad in my studies. I wasn't interested in studying. During the school holidays, my mom brought me to where she was working. It was at a canteen. So when I look at her, my mom was busy cooking. So when I look at her at what she was doing, kind of like what she was doing, and she was actually very busy and perspiring. And it gave me this inspiration. I asked my mom, can I help you? Then my mom said, it's difficult for you because you are deaf, and I was busy. I have no time to take care of you. So my mom asked me to go and play outside at the playground. So I went. Okay, so but it was boring for me. Then my mom said, okay, maybe I'll give you some eggs for you to peel for me, the eggshell. I said, okay, I'll do that. So I enjoyed watching my mother cooking with my relatives. My mom had learned how to cook from my grandmother. Then I asked my mom, I want to work. My mom said if work as chef, then it's tough job and there's no future. Then it will be very tiring for you, the hours are long. I said, I understand, but it's okay for me. My mom said, no, you better go and study to do some office work. That's what my mom wanted me to do, but I don't like that kind of idea. So I kind of like an argument with her. So I went to play outside. So I will hang around outside. But then my good friend, he came to me. He asked, what do I want to do for my future if I do not want to study? Then he asked, what do I like to do? Then I said, I want to be a chef like my mom. So my friend said, oh, okay, maybe I'll advise you. So getting his advice, he said, maybe you can find like a restaurant, like a hotel or a cafe. So then you can go for interview. But he said, but my English is not so good, so how can I go for an interview? So my friend said, I will teach you on what to do. Then from all this interaction, the teaching of English, learning of sign, then from there I learned from him. So I felt more ready. So when I was about 19 years old, I gave it a try. So I quit from my studies. So went to look for a job. So I asked whether can I work like part-time. Then the boss looked at me. You're deaf, whether can he do this work? Then he asked, why do you want to join our company? Why do you want to work for us as a chef? I say, because I learned from my mom. Then they say, you learn from your mom, okay. Maybe we'll get you in and we'll give you a trial. Oh yes, a trial, something like a practical test. Yes, so then I was able to do that, like whatever they told me to do. I was able to follow the instructions, so I did exactly what they would do. So they said, wow, actually the deaf, they can do all this. So they get me to continue to work in that work. So I was preparing the food. But of course, it's like the same thing. I wanted to find some other job. So can you tell us what were some of the food that the list of food that you can cook? Maybe you can explain to us the list of food that you like to cook. Okay, I can do Japanese food like donburi. I can also do maki sushi. I can also do ramen. And also Western food. And also Italian food. And also a bit of Chinese food. My mom taught me those. So how about Spanish food? Yes, Spanish food, yes, but only pork. So the favorite ones, okay, will be Japanese food and also Italian food. So these are the two. Can you tell us how do you feel proud about your first job? Or was it like kind of a social experience for you? Yes, I like the work because of course there are ups and downs, and sometimes communicating with the team there may be some difficulty. We use gestures because we don't have enough time. We have to prepare the food, so we don't talk to one another. So we are just busy with our preparation of the food. Then I learned that our head chef, my mentor chef, he came over to me. Then he said, oh, you're deaf. Then he asked the boss, how can we communicate with him? And the boss said, don't worry, he's good. He knows what to do. The head chef my mentor said, really? Okay, he has kind of a doubt. So he said, okay, let's give it a try. So he kind of like scolded me. It's like a bit like bullying. Then I tolerated with that. I listened to him. Then he said, wow, okay, actually, you kind of able to listen to me. You have that kind of patience. And he can see that I have the kind of like passion as a chef. Because my master chef has many skills and they are experienced. I like how he can show us those new skills. So that's why I like, and I'm happy during my first job. So do you have any long-term aim or long-term goal? Do you have any like dreams? Okay, in the past, that was back, actually it was last November. I wondered, as I was working, I have this dream of wanting to set up my own small business. That was back in last November. Then I told my mom about that. My mom, okay, it's up to you, I will support you. But then in December, suddenly this COVID-19 situation happened. So we have to think. I told my mom, so how? Then she said, the business may be bad. So it's better to put this idea on hold. Then we were kind of thinking on like the business, on what can we do. So I read on Facebook, I read on Instagram. So it seems like we can do home-based business. So I thought, maybe we can do more research on that. Okay, we Google on that. But we need to get a license or not. So we research more. You need to have this food hygiene certification. It's like a license. Yes, correct. So then after that you can do a home-based business, but you need to have this license. I asked my wife for help and she did graphic design for marketing, and then we gave it a try. And then it was good. So we have a lot of business that came in. We have orders that came in. So it was good. Of course, there are ups and downs. But so what are some of the challenges you have faced? Okay, challenges would be like the customer know my brand at the moment. So we need to we need to learn more about marketing. Okay, so you want to like follow like what so-called the market price, and then you want to make it like more competitive, right? Yes. So now when all these challenges, you get this support. Okay, yes. So it's more important to have this team support. So I need to learn more about marketing, about the scheduling, about the costing. How do you manage the finances? Does wife help you to manage? No. So I was the one who do this all on your own. Yes, correct. So you handle all the ordering of things and so on. So no one help you? Yes, correct. No one helped me. So I'm the one person doing all this thing. So my wife did graphic design. So for me, I will do like for the costing, the ordering of the items and so on. So I will make sure everything is okay. And the profit sometimes there may be less profit, but it's okay. It can help to still support my family. So like bit by bit, we have to go through this. So that's good. That's good to know. And congrats on becoming a father. So now, can you manage on your own cooking while your wife looks after the baby? Yes, correct. So when I get in, okay, she has a helper. So also my mom will help to look after the baby. So for my own, I will do the cooking. So it's easier to manage that way. And at home, I can do my cooking, and then I can also look at my family and spend time with them. So once they're okay, then I'll continue to do my work. So we also set our limit. I will send the food between 12 to 2 p.m. Then from 3, 4, 5 p.m. I can still spend time with my family. And then orders come in at 5, 6, 7 p.m. That was for dinner time. So we manage our time well in that way. And if I'm young, I'm able to do all these long hours, right? But now I'm getting older. I also have a baby being born. So I need to learn how to manage that, because the schedule will be tight. Yes, correct. So if you want to set up your own business, will you hire deaf people? Yes, correct. I will hire deaf people. Okay, so better for the deaf community. Okay, that's good. What about, will you hire hearing people? Hearing, no. I will only hire the deaf. Okay, what about if you need to like make phone calls? All of them actually communicate with me by texting. So that's how we communicate. So I don't need someone to make any phone call. In the past, when they will tell them I'm deaf, then they say sorry. Okay, then they will communicate by texting. And do you have any tips to share with those young who wants to be like you? And then can you share with them on some tips and a step to do, like for example, like having the kind of patience? Yes, correct. So the tips I will give to the young people, if you want to be a chef, you need to listen. You need to listen to your master chef. Okay. This will be the gains for you once you learn more.
So hi Ken, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That was a very interesting sharing about your experience in getting to where you are now. It looks like our viewers are also very interested in your journey. Let's take a look at some of the questions for you, Ken. Hold on, I'm just going to pull up some of the questions. So here's the first question, Ken. If you're not working as a chef, what are you doing besides having a family? Do you have a hobby other than cooking? So I actually do like diving, and I also like to travel. You know, see the sceneries, try the different cuisines, and experience different cultures. So you have two different hobbies? Yes, exactly. So how do you keep so skinny if you keep eating from all different countries? I'm joking. So here's another question. So when is your memorable moment in your working life, you know? So when I first started out, when I set up my home-based business, all I just wanted to do was to see that my customers were happy with what I was enjoying the food that I was preparing for them. So how do you feel, you know, when the different customers have different responses to your cooking? So, you know, some people do respond really negatively, or some people really enjoy your food, right? Maybe they would have a big smile on their face. Yes, have. Sometimes I do get some bad feedback. Yeah. So from the feedback, I will make some adjustments to my cooking and learn from them. Yes, that's how you improve your cooking, right? Yes, exactly. So here's a question. Is there any special characteristic that contribute to you being a good chef? So I really want to, I did kind of practice a lot overseas. So last time when I went on many different interviews for the job as a chef, I keep getting rejected because I was deaf. Yeah. Yeah. So here's another question. What are your favorite sets of knives and why? Maybe explain why this particular knife is your favorite. So long time ago when I was a new chef, right, I would I just lent some of their very like blunt knives, and I just felt it was really bad. So there was this other chef who kind of like showed me this new knife. So I just I was really inspired by this person, and this person kind of led me and showed me some of his cutting skills. So he showed me this really expensive knife that I was really interested in. So over time, I had no money, so I had to save money to buy that. So right now, I've really got it. And the name of the knife is Konosuke HD2. Yeah, it's a Japanese knife. Yes, it's made in Japan. So the knife is really sharp. Yes, exactly. So I've been using it for a long time now, about 5 years, and I really like that knife. So now, what is your future plans for the next 20 years? So I plan to open a few more stalls. Oh God. And open different.
So we would like to ask you, do you face any difficulties when you do a small business, when you set up a business? And Ken say he has some problem with manpower and also long working hours. So Gopi say it's very long working hours, and Ken say yes. And Ken say sometimes there's high costing as well, and over the expenses is high. That means expensive for those ingredients. And Gopi says, how do you do to reduce those? Ken says, for the cost, I will compare and the vendor, staff, and food, all that. I will look at it. If there's 70% is good. If it's over, no, I'm not happy with that. And Gopi asks, last time you have a hearing boss, right? Is your boss nice to you, and in what ways? Ken says, it depends. Sometimes good, sometimes not. So yeah, but the boss is strict. And for example, if the boss will scold me sometimes as well, and I try not to make him angry, and I'll do what he asks of me, and then he will not be angry. So Gopi is saying that. So when my boss says, is sometimes talk back, then I will try to control, be patient. And there's also another question. If your daughter aspire to be a chef like you, will support her decision? And she says, yes, I hope that as well. Are you proud to be a deaf chef? Are you? Can say yes. Gopi said that is good. Yeah. So there's the questions. So it's about 3 months old. Aside from good cooking skills, what do you think needs to improve your business? I know that your cooking skills are good, like for example, cutting of ingredients and business. What else do you think you can improve your business? And Ken says the cost, wastage. For example, if I cut, I will try not to waste the ingredients. And I will need to also learn marketing skills. I think that is important. Gopi say, yeah, something like managing your expenses and money, right? and can say yes. Yeah, marketing skill is important. Yeah. Gopi says, so in future, do you recruit dev staff? Do you recruit them? Ken says, yeah. There's challenging in communication. And Gopi says, so there's no more questions. Ken, you can relax now. And thank you. So I've learned a lot from Ken. And, he is not interested in studies, but he learned cooking and he's doing well to do his own business. And he do it through a lot of patience. And from now you see, he can do it. So it shows that deaf people also can do it. And we should expose more of this to more deaf people, and we can learn from them, learn from Ken. I think that's important. It's also important to have family support.
So, Defies, if you have a dream, no matter how small or how big it is, just go do it through perseverance, hard work, and prove people around you that you can do it. Most important is that you do not give up and maintain positive thinking. Deaf pride. So, it looks like the time is our time is almost running out. So that's our program for today. We hope you have learned more about the deaf community. Tomorrow, we'll be uploading more videos at 10 a.m. and we will have our live stream at 7 p.m. on our Facebook page. Well, if you missed out any of our previous Facebook Live videos from day 1 to day 3, don't worry. You can come over to the SADEF Facebook page and scroll down and look at all of our interesting videos for the International Week of the Deaf 2020 celebration series. Okay, so I'm wishing all of you a very happy International Week of the Deaf. Thank you so much. Good night. Wait, hold on. Wait. Don't leave yet. Remember, tomorrow will be the last day of our event. Tomorrow's the last day of the International Week of the Deaf. So please help us to spread the word, share our videos and Facebook Lives to your friends and family, and ask all your friends and family to join us for tomorrow's Facebook Live at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye-bye.